Hey everybody, it's the Old World Gamer, and welcome to, I guess, my very first podcast. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I'm hoping it's going to go well. And I do have a guest with me as well.
Hey guys, this is Blind Man's World, just joining Stefan for the first podcast. We're going to chit-chat, talk about different topics. Looking forward to spending a little time with y'all.
And hopefully it'll be interesting enough to keep you guys actually listening. I don't even have a clue what I'm going to put out in the background, but I'm sure I'll find something worthwhile to at least keep you entertained while you're listening to us gab.
Oh no. I can only imagine what that'll be.
It could be anything. Okay, so actually, you provided me with the topics for this podcast, which are going to include, I guess, the pros and cons of video games in comparison from today, and I guess, like, you know, back when I was growing up or back when we were growing up, compared to, you know, the games today. And the other one being talking about how games can get you through some tough times in life.
Yep.
So I guess the first thing we could talk about, I guess, is the easier of the two right now. It will be the pros and cons of games of today and yesterday. I guess I don't even know where to start. Really, there's so many things. Like, I mean, I was doing a stream yesterday alone, and I was playing Wily Wars on there. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I actually missed the early parts of that stream, so I didn't get to see Wily Wars.
That was a shit show, to say the least. My God, I hated the control in that game. It was supposed to be Mega Man 1, 2, and 3, and of course I decided, okay, I'm going to start with the easier of all three of them, which is Mega Man 2 for me, anyways. And I couldn't get, like, oh my God, I couldn't beat, who was it? Oh, fuck, I beat Bubble Man. I was trying to get the Heat Man.
You were trying to get the Heat Man. I remember. I joined you for that part, and it was.
Yeah. And I'm sure you remember how much I was spazzing out over the control of that. I hated it. It was so bad.
Yeah. That was the Genesis version too, right? It wasn't the actual.
It wasn't NES at all. So yeah, and there was a huge difference. But I mean, and those are old games like there alone. So I mean, that alone can tell you, you know, how games can compare to each other. Like, just because they're newer doesn't mean that they're any better than the older ones.
Right. Well, and even just if you notice the controllers, just basic controllers from when we first started out with our Nintendos back in the day, and now like the Xbox 360 controller. You know, we had like start, select, and 2 buttons and a control pad. Now you got control pad, another 2 sticks, 4 buttons, 4 little right, left buttons, and triggers, and it's just crazy.
You can press down on those analog sticks too. Those are extra buttons.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I don't know about you, but have you found that, like, the directional pads on the newer controllers are garbage compared to the old controllers?
Oh, yes. Yes, they're a lot less responsive.
Yeah, and I guess the same thing can be said about the analog controllers. Like, the analog controllers for the analog sticks for the N64 controllers are much shittier than, I guess, the Xbox 360 and PS3 controller analog sticks.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I suppose for, you know, you and I, we do a lot of kind of the retro games, some of the older stuff, and obviously there's a reason that you've chosen to do those games rather than some of the newer ones. So can you speak to that a little bit? Why do you like the older games? There must be a good reason for it.
Well, I mean, for me, it's mostly nostalgia and just, you know, I'm used to playing those games, and I'd rather start off by, I guess, showcasing games that I can play and that I'm, you know, somewhat decent at or whatever, but that's not to say that I'm not good at the newer games, but I do always say, well, I say in a lot of places, depending on where I'm to, if it's brought up, that it just seems like the newer games are made to be beaten. You know what I mean? Like, you can give the controller to a 6-year-old or a 36-year-old, and they can pretty much finish the game, you know, at the same rate. But then, you know, you go and throw something, and I'm like, what? Like Ninja Gaiden, or you know, something ridiculous, and then they're just like
evil like that. Yes.
I mean, I've watched a lot of new Let's Players, the younger Let's Players, I should say. I mean, they play a lot of the newer games great, but when they go back to like an old platforming game, they find it like really difficult, as if like, you know, it's new physics. So
right. Well, it's one-dimensional rather than three-dimensional. I think a lot of people are really used to having your games three-dimensional and trying to work in that world. When you do a side-scroller, it's a totally different kind of almost culture shock to them.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I don't know, graphics-wise, you know, when I was playing NES and Super NES, and same for you, we kind of not necessarily settled for, you know, small little pixelated guys, and we still had fun. What do you think about current games and the fact that they're getting so real that it's almost kind of freaky sometimes?
Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt because obviously everyone likes things that are visually, you know, appealing like that. But I don't know. There's just something to be said about the simplicity of the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, like the 16-bit era, especially for me. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The graphics were just. They were slightly better, obviously, than an 8-bit, but they weren't as good as a 3D, like, you know, 64-bit system or, you know, or the PlayStation or anything like that.
Right.
But, I don't know, I just found that it was the perfect middle ground. And
yeah.
I don't know, I just like the way that everything feels and that, like, you still got your old school feel, but it's still new enough that it doesn't feel too old. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's like it's polished 8-bit basically.
Yeah, it's very polished, and it's more or less like an expansion to the 8-bit, so that they just made everything look better, but still, you know, gave that 8-bit play and feel to it. And it seems like after that, they just said, you know, I mean, look at the N64 as a prime example. They went from being a 2D, you know, side-scrolling platforming game to a 3D. You know, exploring adventure platform type game, and it was just a huge change. And there for a while, it just didn't seem like they ever wanted to go back to the 2D. But I mean, once they finally did, you know, with the new Super Mario Brothers Wii and the one for the DS, I mean, they done all very well for themselves.
Right.
I mean, that's not to take away from Mario 64 or you know, Mario Sunshine or anything, or even the Mario Galaxy games, but I mean, quite honestly, I'd sooner play a 2D, you know, side-scrolling Mario over, especially something like Mario Galaxy. I mean, it's a great game. It looks, again, visually, you know, pleasing or whatever, but I don't know, it's just not the same.
Right. Well, I agree. I think there's a big market right now for some of these retro games. I'm noticing, like, you know, all the Final Fantasies, the original ones have come out as, you know, Final Fantasy Advance, or Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3 have been remade for, I think, the Game Boy Color. So there's this resurgence of people wanting the old stuff, but they want it to look a little bit better, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, well, actually, that's getting into a whole different topic altogether, is remakes and stuff, and something that's always bothered me about the Final Fantasy series that they've never... Well, no, that's a lie. They did. They done X2, but I've always wanted them to do a sequel of one of the, I guess, the older Final Fantasy games, like, you know, Final Fantasy 4 or 6, preferably. And I think it would be great if they done a sequel to that. That would be magnificent.
Well, and Final Fantasy 2 has an epilogue now. I think it's on iPad. So they do actually have an epilogue, so basically a sequel to that game now.
Oh, nice.
So if you ever want to play that, you have to first purchase an iPad and download it somewhere. But I think if you go online, you can check it out.
Okay.
They have some extra chapters and things. But yeah, I think that would be great to be able to do some sequels to definitely Final Fantasy 4 with Kefka and everybody. That's just an amazing game.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 6. Yeah, 6 on the 6 in the actual. And it's what was it? I think it was 4 on, or was it 3 on the Super NES? Yeah, Super NES. I get all those numbers mixed up.
Yeah, people always want to call it 6. I'm still faithful to wanting to call it, you know, Final Fantasy 3.
Mm-hmm.
But you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Those old guys. So, I guess, well, that's some pros and cons, I guess. Some cons about some of the older games.
They're unforgiving.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah, I mean, Mega Man 1, that red demon, that sand demon in Wily, I think the first level.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. I just played that last week, and it was on the anniversary edition, and there's no way to dodge the guy most of the time. It's ridiculous. And you run out of lives, and then it just says, no, you have to start over. You're too bad. And it's like, wow. And Nintendo was just notorious for doing that.
It's very angering indeed. And I was actually doing the same thing. I was playing Mega Man 1 and I was going to LP it, but he was giving me that much trouble. I couldn't use the cheat on the ROM. I don't know if they fixed it or something, but on the ROM I could not pause it and cheat to kill him with, Elect Man's power.
Yeah.
And I couldn't for the life of me. I was using a save state before him so that every time I went in fresh kind of thing.
Yep.
And for the life of me, I could not get his pattern down. Like, it's true. It's all about the memorization, I guess, of the older games. It's very unforgiving. It's like, nope, you can only do it one way. You can't screw anything up when you're doing it either.
Yeah. Well, in Castlevania is definitely that's casebook kind of scenario right there of Medusa heads and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have the patience and brain power to memorize stuff, you're just not going to be able to play those games.
Yeah. I can agree with you on that. The one time I played Castlevania with Corey, that one hall that I got stuck on, I know which one you're talking about, the one with the knights and stuff.
I think that was Death's Hallway, I think I remember.
It is. It is.
No, it was Frankenstein's, that's what it was.
Frankenstein? Yeah. Oh, I got stuck on that one for a while, too. Jeez.
And I know why they did it back then. I mean, if you're good at those games, they take maybe 15 minutes to beat, maybe 20, especially like Castlevania.
If you're fast enough. Because, I mean, again, I wasn't, I didn't come from a rich family or anything, so you were mostly stuck with, here's your 2 games you got for Christmas, good luck until, your birthday or some other special holiday comes along, you're just like, oh, okay. So you're just stuck with playing, Ninja Gaiden or Castlevania for, months on end, so of course you're going to get good at them, but I mean, if you weren't in that state, then, you were probably one of those kids, oh, my mom just bought me a new game just because we, went to a city or something like that, or,
Right.
And, those kids were the ones who were getting all kinds of games, but they weren't good at them. And those are usually also the kids that ended up, like, not playing those games eventually and just going right into sports or, whatever other thing, I guess, kind of interested them at the time.
Right. Yeah, that's I don't know if that's a con of the old games or if it's just, I don't know, just the way it was. Like, they needed to make them difficult because they, like you said, I mean, you can get through them really quick and then you're done. So, I don't know. But I know today I don't get the same nostalgia and enjoyment out of the games today that I did back then. Although I could just being nostalgic and looking back to my childhood and making it all golden and wonderful. But
well, I mean, there was also something to be said. I mean, I'm sure you could also say the same thing where, on a Saturday, if you were staying in for the whole afternoon, you didn't have to do fuck all for the entire afternoon. You just sat down, you played your games. Oh, supper's ready. Press pause, eat your supper, back in, pick up the controller, keep going what you're doing. Now it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna do so long for this, play for an hour. Okay, I'll stop here. That's good enough for today, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the same, and you don't have the same people around. You're not in the same atmosphere.
Yeah,
you're not playing the NES on a 13-inch black and white screen TV.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. Well, and there weren't save spots and stuff a lot of times in those old games.
Yeah.
So if you actually did quit, like, I don't know, Metroid, you'd have to put down this really long code, and if you got it wrong, you'd lose your progress, and you'd have to start over the whole game.
Yeah, exactly. And some games didn't even have that. They just said, yeah, you turn off this game, then you're starting from scratch. You turn it off.
Exactly. Yeah. Until the great battery packs came out, like for Zelda, we could actually save our progress.
Yeah. And it was only for those big RPGs, too.
Oh, yeah.
So. Yeah. Those are some nostalgic moments.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the pros are, then, for some of the new games? I don't think we talked about that. I mean, what are some of the new games that you're playing?
Well, right now, Skyrim is, I guess, probably the newest game that I've been playing. I've also been watching my girlfriend play a bit of Donkey Kong Country Returns, and it is nice to see that Nintendo is trying to go back to their roots a little bit. I think they still need to go back there to the point where they got to stop worrying about, if you're 70 years old and interested in playing Wii Golf, or, if you're someone who doesn't play video games and maybe you should pick up the Wii Fit to try yoga because you're into that. I think they should screw all that and just do what they've always been good at. Just, put the time into making good games, good series that people want. Why change the recipe to something that's already good? It just didn't make sense to me why Nintendo had to screw around with that. Just, do what you're good at doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think once the Wii came out, that's when I stopped even following Nintendo, because it just became like kindergarten games.
Yes, very much so. Like, the good games were very few and far between. Like, I mean, yeah, you still had your pick up your Metroid, pick up your Mario game, pick up your Zelda games or whatever. That's fine, but I mean, if you look back on the NES and SNES, there were tons of these no-name games that were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And now a lot of them are gone, and some of them are due to companies being bought out and stuff. I always bring up Rare in this case. I mean, whatever happened to Double Dragon, Battletoads? Donkey Kong is not the same as it used to be. They took out some of the stuff from that as well. But I mean, my God, just go back to doing what you were doing before.
Right, exactly.
Have more, obscure games that are actually good. I mean, they redone A Boy and His Blob, and we bought it for the Wii. And compared to an NES version, I'd sooner throw out the Wii version.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it was made for like a 5-year-old, and I just felt like, this is horrible. I can go and pick up Boy and His Blob now for NES, and I can have fun with that for hours.
Oh yeah, well, and it was a really cool game. Wasn't that the one you feed him jelly beans and he transforms into different things?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he still does that and everything, but they just made it very kid-like and very easy platforming. And again, I guess that just kind of speaks on the Nintendo, the original NES, and its difficulty with they're not going to just butter you up as soon as you get in there. They expect you to, if you're going to play this, you're going to keep playing this until you get good at it, kind of thing.
Yes, or your fingers start bleeding.
Exactly.
Whichever comes first.
Whereas now it just seems like, okay, we're going to baby you the whole way through the entire game. And it's just like,
with fast travel.
That's not really a pro either to do things.
Yeah, fast travel and mapping devices, 3D mapping devices. Yeah. I guess one of the pros, I think, of today's games kind of involves, and I don't have these, like the handheld things like PSP, Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy, what is it, 3DS now that they have?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of those and the games on those systems?
Well, they're much better because, I mean, comparatively, again, going back to the old days, I never really wanted a Game Boy. I'd sooner have a portable NES, or I'd sooner wait to go somewhere to play the NES, because the Game Boy just felt, very sluggish. It wasn't as powerful, obviously. And now these newer consoles, like the PSP and the 3DS, I mean, 3DS has, 3D capability built into it. No other console even has, anything close to that. So, I mean, that alone, should be able to tell you that, they're powerful machines. So, I mean, that just, gives you the option to know that, the games that you can buy for it should be just as good as a console game. So, I mean, you're basically just, porting around a console with you the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a lot of the really good RPGs that I'd like the Mana series or something like that. Yeah. They're on all the little handhelds.
Oh yeah, because people love them. They can, if you're a 14-year-old kid, because I'm sure, again, you were probably the same as me back in high school or something. When you were, say, traveling with your parents somewhere and you were driving for, say, an hour, 2 hours, I'm sure it would have been nice to have a great RPG game to just, sit back and chill out to while, your parents drove you wherever.
Exactly.
We didn't really have that. And if you had a Game Boy, I mean, your prime playing times is when the sun rose to when the sun set. Anytime after that, and you're screwed. You can't flick open your Game Boy in the evening and play it because it's,
it's not backlit. It's the original Game Boy, yeah.
So it's just really nice to be able to, have another system like that I guess, focuses on different, how would you say it? It's almost as if, like, they put out a lot of games that are extensions of other games, or, like I was saying with the Final Fantasy thing, like, I think if they were going to probably do a remake for Final Fantasy or a sequel or something, they'd probably just put it out on 3DS or PSP, and...
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, that's what they've done with, like, the Kingdom Hearts series. All the sequels and spin-offs are on handhelds, pretty much. Yeah,
exactly, and a lot of them are great. Like, I was watching Guy Rossrue play one of the Castlevania games. Jesus, I can't remember. It could be Aria of Sorrow, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, Circle of the Moon, Aria of Sorrow, and Symphony of Dissonance or something like that.
Something like that. But it seemed like was it you could level up your weapons, and there was a bunch of different weapons you can get, and it was more I guess what would you call it, RPG-ish.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Metroidvania games, like Symphony of the Night. They did a lot of spin-offs from that game, and they're really cool.
It seemed very interesting. Like, it just made me want to go out and play it, really. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of good. Well, again, I don't have a PSP. I have a DS. I have 3 of them actually, but. So I've obviously played a few DS games, and I've found that there are a lot of DS games that are great, and again, the RPGs especially.
Right, definitely. Do you have any other thoughts on this subject, or you want to continue on to the next one? I don't know how long you wanted to spend on each subject.
I don't care how long the podcast is at all. If they want to listen, great. If they don't, that's fun. I like talking to you too.
Cool. Well, we're at almost 24 minutes on this particular question, so...
Okay, well, the only thing is we didn't really discuss too many pros, I guess, of the...
Okay.
Which, you did bring up graphics. It is nice to see things more realistic, like, especially for, like, I guess, the simulator-type games, like...
That's true.
I've played a couple of Wii games. There was hunting ones and fishing ones, and I particularly like those types of games. Don't ask me why. I'm not a hunter or a huge fisherman by any means. But,
right.
I find them really fun to play for some reason, and the more realistic they are, obviously, the more fun they are. You know, it's the same thing, I guess, as playing golf for some people. You know, the more realistic it is, the more fun it is to actually play it on a console over than going out to actually do it. So.
Right.
It is the realistic part of that.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the big pros for at least the games that I play, like, I'm a big Elder Scrolls kind of fan. I love, Morrowind especially. It's one of my favorite Elder Scrolls. But I do like Skyrim, and just the fact that now the games they allow you to, do sneaking and all these different attributes, and you can be in this huge immersive world.
Yes.
And the graphics capability, it just immerses you in this different place. Yeah. And you can really almost, well, for me, I kind of do a little bit of escaping regular life, and you can live in this other world for a while.
Oh, exactly. I mean, if anyone is into the whole Dungeons and Dragons thing, I mean, this is your next step. I mean, this takes you out of the make up your own story and just here's one, here's a campaign for you to play, more or less. So, Definitely. And like you were saying, the huge expanse of worlds that they have. I don't know. For me, I just love that I can go out and I can steal this person's plate. I can steal that. Yeah. And you can take pretty much everything in the game. You can pick it up. You can throw it. There's just so much to do, and especially I think Skyrim might have these ones now that once you're away from I guess particular dungeons for so long, they repopulate and stuff, and I guess you can redo some missions or something like that.
Yep.
It's just nice to know that you can always have that replay value to a game like that, as opposed to okay, I finally took over this place, so it's took over forever, and that's the end of that. As opposed to, okay, once I cleared out that dungeon, what I have to do, if I don't return to it in a couple days, then, maybe more bandits will take it over or something like that, which is, more realistic again,
right.
Compared to, an NES or SNES game that, okay, you have to, go off the screen a little bit, and that's how it comes back. It respawns.
Exactly. Well, and I think at least for me, one big, huge pro for today's games is the downloadable content options and the mods you can do with PC games.
Yeah,
you can actually kind of grow the game after you've bought the thing. I could have bought it, with Skyrim, bought it months ago, and now I just got a new section of the game through the internet, and I didn't have to go anywhere or do anything. I just clicked a button, and it's like, wow. Can expand the game, and it's like a living organism rather than just that little cartridge, and it's kind of static, and it never grows or goes or does anything.
That's true. But it is nice having that downloadable content as well. It's more or less along the lines of the other consoles, because, well, as we all know, Nintendo doesn't really do downloadable content for their games, which
they don't.
Very, very too bad they don't. But that's probably a topic for another point.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you doing I think an update video on that particular thing. I mean, that's the hard part. Of every company isn't on the same page with that. Yet some people miss out, and other people will benefit. So you end up having to almost buy a whole new console to get the downloadable things that you want, or the kind of games that you want.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, any other pros that you can think of offhand?
Well, I guess I wouldn't say it's a pro. It's more of a trade-off for either or. Is the music of games. I mean, the music that you get now is more solid, realistic. You can pick out a guitar or a drum beat from a song. I mean, you have Guitar Hero and stuff that actually play music.
That's true.
Whereas back in the NES days, you're getting MIDI.
Little MIDI things.
Right? So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of those MIDIs out there that, my God, I love them so much, but there's a lot of the newer games that have music on it that's incredible as well. So I guess, like I said, it's more of a, they're kind of equaled out on that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think for me, it was huge. Like, Final Fantasy VII was the first, huge 3D kind of RPG that I experienced, and the fight with Sephiroth at the end with that huge music and orchestral score, and the chorus starts singing. It's like I almost peed my pants. It was just, the music was so amazing in that game.
Yeah, probably your first time. Oh my God, this is so epic. The music just going with this battle so good. Exactly.
And I mean, the last games I went from like Nintendo 64, and it's like and it's like, it was all fun, cutesy stuff, and then Final Fantasy VII was just, whoa, oh man, we're actually playing a serious game now.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. So yeah, you're right. I mean, music is great. I love just sitting around like in Skyrim or something like that, and just sitting around listening to the music, looking at the trees, maybe pick a flower here or make a potion or something, and just kind of veg for a while.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a decent segue into, I guess, how games help people get through tough times.
Yeah, well, games and gaming. I was thinking of that. I think in one of the streams that you were doing, and everybody was chit chatting and talking about feeling kind of nerdy and sitting at their computer playing their games, and that there's almost like this subculture of gamers and people that, at least for me, I kind of felt pretty nerdy in grade school, but when the Nintendo came up, I beat games faster than anybody in my class, and it kind of ended up making me be the cool person. Like, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! I beat that in like 1 week.
Wow.
Everybody else was going, hey, I can't kill, Glass Joe. It's like, just hit him. Come on, here. Up, down, left, right, BA start. Go. And then beat Contra, and I don't know. How did you kind of experience gaming? How did you get into gaming, and did it help you with your life?
How did I get into gaming?
Yeah.
Oh God, oh my God, I don't even know if I can remember. The very first console I had was an Atari 2600. And I remember, again, not being from an incredibly rich family or anything. My mom was a single parent at the time or whatever. So I only had the one game, Pac-Man. And if you've ever seen Pac-Man on an Atari 2600 compared to like the NES or the arcade, it looks horrible. It doesn't even look like around Pac-Man. The maps are not the same whatsoever. It's terrible. So I guess that was what initially got me into it, but for some reason I was good at the game, so obviously I thought it was fun, but I guess the commercials and stuff really got me going, because I was one of those kids that was really into TV growing up, and especially at a very young age. And I guess I used to be one of those kids that would, you hear a commercial and then I'd sing it every single time that it would come on and know the word for word kind of thing. And I guess once video games started coming out, like more of the NES commercials started coming on TV, I guess I started mimicking those and probably thinking to myself that, these things kind of actually look pretty cool. These video games, this Nintendo looks really, it looks much.
Zelda.
But I mean, all I can remember seeing at that time was I guess the Mario game, and that alone was like, wait, that looks like a person. I'm going around with this little yellow smudge, and I get to control a person. Okay, that's awesome. I want this.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
my mom actually got me a Nintendo for Christmas, and yeah, N64 kid from YouTube.
Mhm.
Nothing on that. Believe there was none of this wearing pajamas. It was first thing in the morning. What's this thing? Oh, it's my Nintendo. In a pair of drawers, run into my mother's room carrying this thing that's probably heavier than me, and just like jumping like 10 feet span onto her bed and just like Nintendo. And I pretty much didn't really care about anything else at that point. I just plugged that in, and I think I played Duck Hunt for about 3 hours while eating just toast and hot chocolate. It was awesome.
The little dog. I remember that game.
Oh, I got mad at that dog pretty fast too.
Oh yeah, that was a fun game. And
Yeah, how it got me through tough times. Well, I guess when I was younger, I lived in Ontario first for like the first 7 years of my life. So, you had your friends there, and I had my friends that I used to always play with, and I didn't have to worry about nothing was too stressful or anything in my life at that point in time. But then I had to move. So then, you move to a new place, and that's when I moved back to Newfoundland, actually. And, I didn't know anybody there. I'm moving in with my grandmother. My mother was still up in Ontario at the time, and I was just living with these people who I barely knew myself. And I didn't have friends and stuff, so, I mean, what else was I going to do after school except, come home and turn on a Nintendo or, watch my uncle play games or something like that. But, you had that, and, I'm sure a lot of people also have this nowadays too. I'm sure a lot of people get this kind of crush thing on people, like or whatever. And then as for an RPG, you can always go and there's always a love interest, especially in like a Final Fantasy game. There's always like a couple of characters that have a love interest with each other, so you can technically name yourself as one of those people and name the other one as the person who you're liking at the time. And I guess that kind of helps you think as if like it's happening, but it's not. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. It does help you get through a lot of things, and I mean, if like I said, if you don't have any friends around at the time, it's always nice to have a few games there that'll get you through those hard times or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I'm glad I'm not the only person that did that naming thing.
Oh no, I'm
I did that too.
the first person who ever probably even said it, because I know that Nintendo Capri Sun, he's mentioned that he's had crushes on characters, and that's fine. I used to be the same when I was younger too. I think Gadget from Rescue Rangers when I was like 6 or 7, I used to think she was hot. It's a fucking animated mouse.
It's a chipmunk, dude. It's a chipmunk.
So I mean,
that's kind of cute though.
So obviously, people have that thing, but I'm sure there's more than enough people out there who would do that. Name one character after themselves and after their love interest. So I mean, it does help you get through some stuff.
Why do you think The Sims is so popular?
Yeah, there you go. How do you think The Sims got so popular? You can live with the person you love then, even if they don't want to.
No, I remember Eris Gainsborough from Final Fantasy VII was my kind of crush, I guess. I don't know. That game got me. I played it for a year, and it kind of got me through this really bad breakup.
Yeah.
And I played Final Fantasy VII. I stayed in my room. It was dark most of the time, and just played that game. Beat Ruby Weapon, beat Emerald Weapon, got every cotton picking materia in the whole game. It just got me through life for a year. That one, it might not be my favorite Final Fantasy game, but definitely did help get me through some crap times in life.
Oh yeah, probably holds a lot of, I guess, a lot of good memories of helping you through things.
Yeah, well, it was that one game that kills off one of your main characters, and then spoiler, you can't get her back. It's like, no way! So yeah.
Do this to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know. I think, and I'm not in school today, but just gaming in general. I don't know if it still plays kind of a role of escapism for young people now who maybe aren't as athletic or can't do all those kinds of things, but are really good at games. So it'd be nice to maybe even some comments to the podcast to see if people are in that space.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, they probably have a lot more activities nowadays than what we did growing up. I mean, Jesus, back where I'm from from a little tiny island out from Newfoundland originally. So, I mean, there's like 3,000 people. So we had, what, a basketball team. We eventually got a hockey team. We eventually got a volleyball team. We had a softball team for 1 year. That's it. There's no swimming. There's no football, rugby. There's none of this chess club, which I know that's a thing in schools for or God knows how long. But I mean, we didn't have anything like that. No audio-visual club, nothing like that. Nothing fun. It was just, here's 4 sports teams. If you don't try out for them, well, too bad. You got nothing else better to do then.
Right.
I mean, so it was nice to have video games, for me anyways. I mean,
definitely. Well, my hometown was, in Wisconsin and everything, and you either played sports or you were a nerd. I mean, there was that 2 choices, basically. So gaming was like the only. I suppose you could be in that kind of group of weirdos that played video games, and that's kind of where I hung out for a good chunk of time. But yeah, it sounds like maybe kids have more access to a lot more different things, and there's more variety. But who knows? Who knows?
Oh yeah. Let's see some other, I guess, tough times in life that I could help you with. Can't think of any off the top of my head right away. So that's the worst part.
Yeah, I know. It had those big major ones, but I don't know. I think just on there's not really a ton of major ones for me, but just on a daily basis, I'm done with work, and I work in the mental health, industry and stuff. And if the day's been hard and I've got a lot of stuff that's been unloaded on me, it's great to go to, Skyrim or
as you said before, it's relaxing.
Yeah, kill a few orcs or do something and just kind of let that energy out.
Yeah, really though.
But yeah, I guess it's good, just a good thing to use for that. And honestly, one of the pros of video games, and I didn't think of this earlier, is especially some of the old ones, are the hand-eye coordination.
Oh God.
A lot of these things.
Yeah. That's again going back to the difficulty in the Nintendo.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't get that same feeling that I need to have a good chunk of skill. I mean, Darksiders 2, there are a few puzzles where you need to do some timed skill kind of jumps, but maybe Ninja Gaiden for like Xbox 360 or PlayStation 2, those games might be some of the more, you maybe need some fast button presses, but I still don't feel that you need a lot of hand-eye coordination necessarily with today's games.
Yeah, well, that's another prime example there. That's another game that didn't go back to its 2D roots, is Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, I haven't actually played the new one, so.
Well, imagine if they decided, what, let's go out and do a Ninja Gaiden as a 2D again, just to try it out. I can guarantee you there will be a lot of old fans that are saying, this is incredible.
Oh yeah.
If
it came out on Wii U or something like that, I would save money and I would buy it. I would consider it just to get other M at this point, but
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've seen the new Mario game for Mario on the Wii U, and it's so amazing.
It looks really good. I just like how they kept it to the 2D again, and that they're just incorporating powers that aren't overpowering or like stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's definitely one of the pros of gaming. You can, at least on the Nintendo system, you can really relive some of your past, but also reimagine some of those past, especially like Mario games. They keep it 2D. It's kind of like an old friend, but it's shinier and new and more awesome. So.
And well, some of those newer games also have, I guess, the text dialogue, so that you're getting the voice and you're hearing the emotion in the voice as they're playing, whereas like you had to use your imagination as to what the person sounds like or what emotion or feeling that they're trying to convey through their text. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, for the Final Fantasy, it was a 4, I guess, with Baron and all those kind of guys. I like my voices better than I think it's the Game Boy Advance. They have a 3D version of that game, and it's like the guy's got this little kid voice. Like, no, that is not what the Dark Knight guy sounds like. No way.
Yeah, right. Get some good voice actors. Jeez.
Yeah. Which is one con of some of today's games. I mean, I think a lot of these games could be good or bad based on whether or not they got a good actor for them.
Oh my God, Kingdom Hearts. I've seen some of those games being played, and some of the voice acting in that it's just horrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Definitely. There should be a way to turn off the voices. That would be nice.
Yeah, really. Jeez.
Yeah, cool. Well, did I have any other topics on that little list that I sent out, or?
Let's see. Well, we're talking about the difficulty storylines, and I guess the marketing we haven't really talked too much about, really.
Marketing. And yeah, I don't know. Today's marketing is weird, especially like with the game reviews and like the companies that do the reviews. It seems like you can't really trust a lot of these bigger review companies, and I don't know. That's what it seems like to me.
Well, I mean, think about it. The trailers themselves for the new games,
Yeah.
usually that's all cinematics just for the trailer. It has nothing to do with the game. And I mean, that's not to say all of them are like that. Some of them don't do that. They still include gameplay. But again, going back to the retro games, Sega and Nintendo, they basically said, oh, had someone there doing whatever, some dude flipping out, and the Sega is like freaking them right out because it's not Nintendo. But I mean,
right.
They just had actual gameplay. There was none of this like, oh, Sonic is running through a field in real life, and then he comes up into a hill, and there's this cartridge. There's nothing stupid like that.
Insert women with bikinis too.
Yeah, right.
That's got to be in there all the time now too.
Oh God, yes, the sex appeal that are in games now is ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The old games was like, I definitely remember the Zelda one of like little Link, and he's just running around going Zelda, 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 and it's stuck in your head, and yeah, it was just gameplay. They actually sold the game rather than selling, I don't know, like an image or an idea or something, whatever they're selling now, because it's really not games.
Yeah.
A lot of times, and then you see the game, review or something like that, and I actually pick up the game and it's like, what? Wait a second, this isn't actually as fun as you said it was. And I just spent $64 on it or more.
It means the same thing with movies.
Yep.
Most of the stuff that you see in a trailer for a movie these days, like a comedy especially, all the things that they put into that trailer, that's all the funny parts.
Yep.
And then when you go to watch the movie, you're like, oh, it wasn't that great. They had all the funny stuff in the commercial. I should just watch the commercial and be done with it.
Yep, exactly. I don't know if there seems to be a lot more. Well, there's kind of a lot of product placement, I think, in a lot of not in some of the games I play, but Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Those kinds of games, I do see when I'm watching like maybe an LP or something like that of it. There seems to be a lot of product placement in things.
Oh God, yes. Well, I mean, the cars alone are modeled after real life cars, but then they just slightly change the names enough. You know what I mean? Like, and then I guess in some of them you can even have ads. Well, I mean, that's not to say that older games didn't have that. Ninja Turtles 2 had Pizza Hut advertising all the way through it.
That is very true.
And
that's
then
not
you had
necessarily a new thing.
Cool Spot. He was with 7-Up, and
that's true. Yeah.
Was it Yo Noid? Wasn't the Noid with?
The Noid was with Domino's Pizza.
Domino's.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, we had some blatant advertising in games as well in the old days, but probably not as bad as in the newer days.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. It probably wasn't as bad. Not as, I don't know, just targeted at I don't know. It just seems like they're just making a game to get you to buy the game and make money off of you, rather than creating a game that's kind of enjoyable. It just seems like the older games it was just a game to have fun with, and now it's like a game to sell an image, and there's a whole subtext and pretext surrounding this game thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're awesome and cool if you play this. Like, no, I'm not really. It's just a game, people. Get over it.
Right. yes, we need another, 50 million people to go with the other 50 million to play Black Ops.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
case
I'm not
in
saying
point.
that's a bad game at all. It's probably, I've played it and it is fun, but I mean, it's like any other shooter game. It's, I can play Counter-Strike and it's the same thing. I'm running around and I'm killing people. That's it.
Right.
It's the same thing
Exactly.
as GoldenEye. You're running around, you're killing people. So,
Yeah.
there's just no storyline really. You're just going online and shooting people over and over on a different map. I mean, that's not a storyline. I don't find that exciting. Oh, wow. Did you see how he shot that guy? And did you see the other time when he shot that guy? Wasn't that awesome?
Exactly. We got a headshot. Ooh, great. Well, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
Did you see the other 50 billion videos
Yeah.
of headshots out there? Jesus, or a Moab and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Again, sorry not to hate on you, Black Ops people, but it's just too much. There's
Right.
only so many times I can watch a headshot for them. Like, okay, it's a headshot, big deal.
Exactly. Well, I think those games in particular are best played in small groups with other friends, and that's what they're really for. Not that we'll go into that topic, but I don't think that's a game necessarily that's really, unless you do a little twist with it or something like that, or talk about the strategy of the battle that you're in.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna be a good LP if you're just gonna sit there and go, I shot him in the head, yeah, great. It's like, who cares? I would love for somebody to do an LP of that particular game, and as they're going through the maps, go, well, I'm gonna hide between this corner. I'm gonna try to pull up a flanking maneuver with my group in here, and make it almost like you're in a battle simulator of some sort.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. So more or less giving you strategies or different tips on things what you should do while playing instead of. Yeah, I usually just run around this corner, and I'll just keep running here, and instead of that, it's like, I'm gonna go around here. The reason I'm gonna go around over here is because I know that they're gonna spawn over from this point, and most of them either go back this way or they're wrapping around here. So if I just stay tucked in this corner, I'll probably have a couple of them run right past me and I just pop them.
Right.
That's more interesting than, oh look, oh yeah, got him. Or, oh, it's just,
oh yes, F-bomb, 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 F-bomb,
Yeah, right.
F-bomb. Yeah, I did that F-bomb. Like, great. And I don't mind if people, do the expletives and stuff. That's fine. That's what they do. But if it's every other word and if they're just sounding dumb, it's just not even an enjoyable LP anymore.
No, I've never watched an LP that's a first-person shooter yet.
Yeah.
I just can't.
I've yet to. Well, I watched a couple videos, but yeah. So I guess that's one of the pros and cons, though. Do you think the violence level between our older games and our newer games, is it out of hand now, or is it still the same as the old games but just better graphics?
No, I don't think it's I shouldn't say no. I can't say it's out of hand, only for the fact that it's the same thing as the sex appeal. I mean, we didn't have too much violence, too much sex appeal in the old games, but as it progresses, and as people just got, I guess, more quote-unquote grown up, so did, I guess, the gaming. So, they started adding more sex, they started adding more violence. They just kept going. I mean, from the NES, we didn't really have it, it was cartoon violence, more or less. And then we had, wham, Mortal Kombat. I'm going to rip your head off. I'm going to take your heart out of your chest. I'm going to turn into a dragon, bite your torso off.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. And then, then it just kept going and kept going. I mean, now you have stuff like, oh, well, let's go play Dead or Alive 2. And, oh, wait, you can get this girl a rape costume? Oh, great. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, is it too much? Probably, yes. In some scenarios, it probably is a bit much. But in other ones, I mean, going back to that game alone, you turn your age level up to 99, and it makes the girl's boobs jiggle more.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, you know what I mean? Like, they market that. They obviously do that on purpose, so...
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I think probably it'd be too much if people get into this mindset that the game is reality. If you can still separate the game from what's real, then you can do some of those crazy, freaky things and still keep a normal frame of reference in your real life. You can make that separation of this is gaming, and we don't do those kind of, especially like Grand Theft Auto. It is fun to steal those cars and run around town and have the cops follow you. It's great, but you don't do that in real life. So
no, exactly.
as long as you keep that separation, I think it's really good.
Yeah, that's very true. Jeez.
So, I suppose that's probably what we're starting to experience is people are, I don't know, starting to live out some of these weird, crazy things that you'd want to do, but you could never do, and
Yeah. They overburst themselves in the game almost.
Yeah. This kind of this almost extreme role playing kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering where these trends will take us in like 10, 20 years. What gaming will be.
God. Well, I mean, if they actually do get virtual reality on the go, I mean, you could potentially have a game where you are the person ripping out someone's heart, or where you know you are fighting a chick whose boobs are jiggling all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's true, but I mean, you know, what's to say that the next thing to come out isn't a virtual reality thing where you put on a suit that fucking sends, you know, electrical sensations over your body depending on, you know, what's going on. When you're in a fight, you actually, you know, kind of feel small jolts to feel the pain. Or, you know, if you're in some game where, you know, you could potentially have a sex simulator. You know what I mean? And you can feel that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, you know, there's a lot of weird shit that's on the go out there, and I'm sure that's been in somebody's mind for a while if they're not already working on some kind of thing like that, exactly like that.
I'm sure they are. It's kind of like almost, you know, if you ever watch Star Trek, it's almost holodeck technology.
Exactly. So.
Weird world, and what that'll do to our gamers. Yeah, I just slew a dragon. No, really, I did. It was totally like cool. I got the blood all over me. Ha ha ha.
God.
Oh, cool. Yay. Nice little, and it'll be coming from like a 10-year-old or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just sliced out its head. The simulator just threw some liquid blood all over me. It was great.
Yeah, basically, and they'll just say that with a straight face.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, kid. I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
Well, good.
So, I guess we can probably wrap up the podcast, the very first podcast. It went a lot better than I expected.
Yeah, I think so too. We actually didn't have too many dead pauses or anything like that. So I'd really like to hear and see the comments of people who are maybe interacting with these questions and thoughts and what they're thinking about them.
Yeah.
Or if they think we're just totally bogus and we don't know what we're talking about. That's also acceptable too.
That's fine. Yeah, you're allowed to hate and you're allowed to love. So that's all your choice.
Yeah. Good. That's a good ending. I like that. Allowed to hate and you're allowed to love. It's like a song.
Well, that's the way everyone should view the life, I guess.
Right.
Okay, so I guess as always, everybody, that was Blind Man's World. Feel free to go over to his channel and check him out. If you like his content, subscribe, leave him some comments, give him some feedback on his videos or whatever. And again, leave some comments at the bottom of this video if there's anything you'd like to say to us in regards to any of the topics or anything we talked about. Do you think that we're full of shit, or is there anything you agree, disagree with? What are your thoughts on some of those? So again, that was Blind Man's World. I'm the Old World Gamer, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast. See you guys
later.